April 27, 2018, the day a federal agent walked into a Manhattan apartment and pulled a small, black, ink-stained stamp from a woman's thigh, would become the image that defined a hidden world of manipulation, branding, and betrayal. That ink, a crude emblem of a secret society within a self-help empire, marked the moment the facade of empowerment collapsed and exposed a modern-day sex cult that had thrived under the charismatic gaze of a man who called himself a human optimizer. Keith Raniere, a Harvard-educated entrepreneur with a penchant for riddles and an uncanny ability to read people, founded the organization NXIVM in 1998. Marketed as a revolutionary personal development program, NXIVM promised its members the keys to success, confidence, and inner mastery through intensive workshops, rational inquiry, exercises, and a tight-knit community that blurred the line between mentorship and manipulation. At its peak, the group boasted dozens of elite executive success programs, a sprawling network of affluent professionals, and a glossy image that attracted CEOs, actors, and socialites eager to unlock their potential. Behind the glossy brochures, however, Raniere cultivated an inner circle known as DOS, a covert sisterhood whose name stood for Dominus Obsequious Sororium, Latin for master over the slave women. Membership required a costly, collateral, pledge, personal secrets, compromising photographs, and, most chillingly, a permanent tattoo of the DOS symbol, a simple, stylized V flanked by two circles branded onto the lower back. Women who entered DOS were told they were slaves to a higher purpose, required to submit to Raniere's sexual and emotional control in exchange for growth and a promise of enlightenment. Allison Mack, a former actress known for her role on Smallville, became one of the most visible recruiters for the inner circle. Using her Hollywood connections, she introduced high-profile women to Raniere, framing the group as a path to empowerment. Over time, dozens of women were coaxed into DOS, their lives increasingly dictated by Raniere's demands for sexual favors, financial contributions, and the unwavering secrecy of a collateral agreement that could be used as blackmail if they ever attempted to leave. The first cracks appeared when former members began to speak out. In 2017, a former DOS participant, known only as Sarah, went public with a harrowing account of her experience, describing sleepless nights, coerced sexual acts, and the chilling moment she felt the brand burn into her skin. Her testimony ignited a media firestorm, drawing the attention of federal investigators who had already been monitoring Raniere's financial dealings. By the summer of 2018, a joint FBI-IRS task force had amassed enough evidence to file a 20-count indictment, charging Raniere with racketeering, sex trafficking, forced labor, and conspiracy to commit forced labor, among other crimes. The trial began in April 2019, a courtroom drama that unfolded like a modern tragedy. The prosecution painted Raniere as a charismatic predator who weaponized psychology, secrecy, and financial control to create a hierarchy where women were reduced to commodities. Prosecutors presented the ink-stamped branding photos, recorded conversations in which Raniere demanded collateral from his followers, and testimony from former members who described a systematic pattern of abuse. The defense, led by a team of high-profile attorneys, argued that the branding was a consensual, symbolic act, that the relationships were based on mutual agreement, and that the alleged sex trafficking was a mischaracterization of consensual adult behavior. Witness after witness described a meticulously engineered environment, daily routines that measured a member's devotion, a point system that rewarded obedience, and a culture of intimidation that silenced dissent. The prosecution's star witness, former DOS member Claire Bronfman, the daughter of a billionaire who had funded much of NXIVM's operations, turned against the organization, detailing how her father's money had facilitated the group's expansion and how she herself had been complicit in the coercive practices. Her testimony, combined with the damning physical evidence of the tattoos and the recorded audio of Raniere's instructions, left little room for ambiguity. After a grueling 6-week trial, the jury retired to deliberate. On June 19, 2020, the verdict was read. Keith Raniere was found guilty on all 14 counts presented to the jury, including racketeering, forced labor, and sex trafficking. The courtroom erupted in a mixture of relief and sorrow, as survivors finally saw the man who had orchestrated their exploitation held accountable. In October 2020, Raniere received a 120-year prison sentence, effectively ensuring he would spend the rest of his life behind bars. The repercussions rippled far beyond the courtroom. Allison Mack pleaded guilty to racketeering charges in 2021, receiving a 3-year prison term followed by supervised release. Several other high-ranking members, including Claire Bronfman, faced their own legal battles, resulting in lengthy prison sentences and substantial financial forfeitures. The financial fallout forced the dissolution of NXIVM's corporate entities, and the once glittering brand was reduced to a cautionary tale of how charisma can be weaponized. For the survivors, justice marked only the beginning of a longer healing journey. Support groups formed across the country, offering counseling and a space to share stories without fear of retribution. Many former members have spoken publicly, using their voices to warn others about the seductive allure of self-improvement groups that demand unquestioning loyalty. Their advocacy has spurred broader discussions about the regulation of cult-like organizations and the need for legal frameworks that protect vulnerable adults from psychological coercion and financial exploitation. Subscribe to The Verdict for more stories like this.